Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the conversation series. Because creators are businesses.
What we do is not simple.
Give, the fans everything that they deserve.
Being creative
is like doing a 5,000 piece puzzle.
Is something that you can learn and do over and over again.
Always be as authentic as I can be.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the conversation series. I am thrilled today to be sitting right across from Mr. Chip Kennedy. He's the founder of CivicReach. He's part of the co-foundership of Triangle Tech Night here, which is massive and growing so quickly. Chip, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Danielle. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I want to first tap into and set the stage for entrepreneurship with you. You've kind of been part of many organizations building products. And what kind of got the entrepreneurship bug in you? Where did that start in your journey?
I like that question. I'd say if I really had to go back, I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs, not tech entrepreneurs in what I get to do now, but a family where building something new was really valued, and a family where my parents together started a set of physical therapy clinics in Boston, where we grew up. So my dad was a physical therapist, great at treating patients, but not so good at business. And that's where my mom came in, and they were a great duo. So it almost felt like the default growing up that going out in the world and starting something new was how you built a career. And so I think I almost take that for granted in the career decisions I've gotten to make and the things that I've gotten to build with the support of community here.
Yeah. It's always funny, and what I've learned about talking with entrepreneurs is when you identify that they are one, you always ask them and go back to when they were a child, like with the environment they grew up in. Were they ones that, they had the lemonade stand every weekend? Were they ones that they grew up watching parents or grandparents? Or, were they ones making things themselves? It's always interesting to hear kind of that pinpoint of where it all kind of started for everybody.
Yeah, I agree.
I want to hop into CivicReach, AI for local government. This is what you have founded. What was kind of the moment you realized local government, not just startups or enterprises, was where AI could really have the biggest human impact?
Yeah. So I, across my career so far, have been on two tracks. And one is as a social entrepreneur and a social technologist working in spaces like startups who are building environment solutions, government solutions, lots of really interesting projects. And on the other track is also for my parents, been the part-time director of a nonprofit that helps families living in homelessness in Boston, where we grew up. And so those two experiences combined there was a problem on the nonprofit side that I could never solve as a technologist, which was communication between organizations that wanted to help and people who needed help. And in our case, it's a small nonprofit, and we're helping families living in homelessness. But as I started to ask more partners on that side of my life, who often were governments, is, where do you see this problem? And I learned that, a Parks and Rec department has a really hard time reaching folks who want to come out to events, that folks who work in local government and public works have a really hard time explaining how the city is going to go fix a pothole. Yeah. And it started to slowly, but then all at once, all these different pieces felt like a really cohesive story, which is there's people who need help, whether that's fixing a pothole or I need a bed for my family to sleep in tonight. And there's people who are ready to give that help and money and resources, but the two are so often disconnected. And it's technology that sits in the way. And so the big what if moment of CivicReach was, well, if I see the problem as, the side of me that works at a nonprofit, and I now have the tools to solve this problem as a technologist, especially with AI, what could we build that can bridge this gap? And that was the original idea of CivicReach. It's gone through many iterations, but it's helped get us to the current mission we have, as well as the product we have today, which is creating just more access to government for everyone. Whether you're looking for something that you need acutely tonight, food and housing, or if you just want something simple and you're wondering why your government hasn't gotten back in touch with you.
Yeah. This AI piece, there's no shortage of conversations around it today. It's growing, it's booming in so many different directions. As you've gone through this with the combination of AI and local government, have you seen feedback or just been part of conversations where people are like, we don't like how these two are collaborating until you really set the stage for what CivicReach is trying to do? What have those conversations been like?
There's no shortage of what could go wrong
Yeah.
when we talk about AI. And when you think of government, and we serve cities, counties, state agencies, as
Okay.
well as nonprofits in the social service space.
Okay.
So lots of different customers who are doing government adjacent things. There's no shortage of feedback from them to your question of, well, what could go wrong?
Yeah.
What is wrong with AI that we don't want to put in front of residents or don't want to use as part of our organization? But I will say that's the minority of conversations we have.
Interesting. Okay.
When you look at headlines, it's very polarizing
Yeah.
of, this is what we're afraid of, or this is the bright, shiny future. And I
Yeah.
think the reality always lives in the middle. In innovation, right? The future you seek is always further away and closer than you think. It's just, I'm probably misparaphrasing.
Oh, good.
But that's really the principles we live by when we're talking to our customer. And the calls I have, multiple calls I've had today with cities across the country, just this morning, people just want to do right. People just want to be good at and be a responsive government and do a good job and take care of their residents. That's why they went into the roles. That's why they went to work for their city or went to work for a nonprofit. And what we get to do is listen to them and say, well, how can our solution help and how can AI help?
Okay.
And we're not trying to pitch an AI that's scary or the future, but where can AI meet the moment in need now? And how can we build AI that's responsible enough to do it now?
Yeah. When, 2-3 years ago, when we really started seeing AI come into conversations, my dad looked at my sister and I and he was like, go learn AI. He's like, because this is the future of it. And you're really starting to see and all the different facets that AI can fit into. And I think it's interesting how you are doing it with Civic Reach because, I mean, when we think of AI and government, it's not thinking of it in this way and how to help people. It's really of people are going to bad places with it. So I love that you have combined this in a great way that's truly serving and helping so many people that you possibly can in communities.
Absolutely. And something that I really want to push for as a technologist, I think it's the right time for us to stop thinking of AI as a monolith.
Yeah.
It absolutely is a generational technology. When the world switched to cloud computing, it was the same thing, social media.
Yeah.
These things have bad actors, good actors, and everything in between. And I think, and this is a conversation I have with my mom and my family, who's a little bit less tech literate, and just, there's nuance here. And how can we empower folks to have opinions on the nuance? And so not only can we find good use cases, and I'd argue CivicReach is actively trying to find those best use cases to empower government, but also know that the bad actors, how they're using AI.
Yeah.
And not just say that AI is bad, but those bad actors are bad. And how do we protect ourselves against those nefarious use cases, of which, of course, there are many.
Yeah. I get to kind of have a really fun role in what I do outside of this. I work in social media and specifically full-time job work for a cybersecurity company that it focuses on AI and how do you kind of enhance it, but also work like those bad actors at the same time. How do you be able to stop those? And it's really so interesting just to see kind of the crossover there. Like you were saying, that conversation, how do you be able to kind of identify it, but also be able to use it as a tool to protect yourself and your businesses as well?
Yeah. Technologies, and I think in AI's case, is neutral.
Yeah.
Right? It's up to us to determine the use cases we want to see for it and really advocate and evangelize the ones that we think are best.
Yeah. When thinking about, local government workflows haven't changed much in decades, or maybe they've made changes that we haven't really, small changes, but what's kind of one broken experience every citizen kind of knows that Civic Reach is quietly trying to help rebuild behind the scenes?
Yeah. We always go on the spectrum of the most mundane to the most dire.
Okay.
And what we like about the technology we've created is that it's really good at both.
Okay.
And so what's mundane is that what most people don't know, and this is a credit to local governments in this country that are, cities are often responsible for maintaining their own roads.
Okay.
And so if you leave your driveway and you're driving on your neighborhood and there's a pothole that you're hitting every day, you're getting really resentful, often of your city.
Yeah.
You're like, why can't they fix this? What most folks don't know is that cities are incredibly responsive about fixing potholes.
Okay.
There's a lot of reasons for it.
Yeah.
It's something that cities are set up to do. Most municipalities in this country have a public works department, and that's one of the first things that they're good at. Not to mention that for elected officials, our local politicians, our mayors and our city councilors, they hear about this from some of our neighbors, and they get really good at responding to potholes. So when we think about mundane at Civic Reach, it's how do we make cities that are already superheroes at fixing potholes be even better about talking about potholes.
Okay.
So if you're the resident, you have a better way to actually say there's a pothole.
Yeah.
How fast can you fix it? And cities are already great at it. And our job is not to get in the way, but to just smooth the process of complaining about that pothole. So we want to get better at the mundane. We want people to realize that these mundane things they don't think about, but maybe get frustrated about, cities are great at. And our job is to just make them shine.
Yeah.
When we go to the other side of the spectrum, to the dire, to the acute, to the emergencies, cities bring CivicReach in to help with post-hurricane recovery, post-flooding recovery. It's when you have a high volume of phone calls because, if a hurricane, comes through your community, you don't have a playbook often of what you're supposed to do next. And often your city is the one who already wrote that playbook and is ready to communicate to you. Here's the emergency shelter. Here's where you go if you can't live in your house right now. Here are the grants available to you. It's something that, once again, our cities are great at. Yeah. But you're in crisis if a hurricane just happened to your community. You might be dealing with loss, or at the very least loss of property. And so we get brought in to help create a better path for everyone to communicate and say, here's what I need. Yeah. Can you connect me to go get it? So we think of both and everything in between. And the goal is really to not be down on what government can't do well, because we're actually... At CivicReach, we're huge fans of local government. Yeah. Most of our team has come from state or local government. And it's really just saying that there's so many things they're doing well, but the issue is not how well your city's fixing potholes or taking care of you post-hurricane. It's how they're making themselves available to talk about it, or how you're able to ask for help. Yeah. That's the part that's broken that we want to fix. And
I just want to reiterate that hurricane recovery is some of the biggest... people, every part of the country has their own kind of weather situations that they've gone through. When you grow up in North Carolina, like I have, from this time to this time, you are prepared and ready to go at any given time for hurricane season to run through the alphabet of names, at whatever, and you're just prepared. So I love that. It's part of something that I've always tried to do once we come out of hurricanes. It's like, how can we help those areas that did get hit very hard, and making sure that they have resources, whether it is just crates of water or whatever it may be, to make sure that they are getting support and help that they need.
Absolutely. And we're talking to helping organizations and governments who do flood recovery in Hill Country, Texas, from the floods this past summer, hurricane recovery in Florida. And we're really focused on that, among many other use cases where we think we can really level up government's ability to communicate.
Yeah. You just mentioned your team. Walk me through how you have built your team and how your team operates today with CivicReach.
Yeah. No founder gets to be a founder without a team. Yeah. And that couldn't be more true than with CivicReach. I had a dream that was not well crafted, but I was telling the world about it. And the team came together slowly and then more quickly of just people who were bought into this mission and vision, and themselves had experiences either as residents of government, frustrated or excited, and then had worked in local government to say, I know that this is something that will really change things for the better. So we are a 7-person team, 4 full-time, 3 part-time. We're early stage, we're a pre-seed startup. Everyone's got equity and is bought in. And what I've loved about our team is we're very senior. I've never worked on a team that is so senior. And I've worked in many startups as a founder, as a CTO, and I've often been the most junior one. And sometimes it feels like that now, which I love. There's so much I can learn from my teammates and their experiences and the past careers they've had. And I really appreciate it. And it shortens our ability when we want to get something done, even if it's something that person's never done, or as a company we've never done. And in startups, that happens 6 times a day. Yeah. You're facing a challenge that's brand new. To have a team that I feel like has just done so much and worked at other startups and worked in government, it gives me this really high trust of, we're going to figure it out. Yeah. And I could have 2 of my teammates in a room, or any of my teammates in a room, and I just know that the right people are in that room to go solve that challenge and keep moving, which is the job of a startup, is turnover. Keep trying new things, keep experimenting, keep finding ways to serve your customer, execute on your mission, and be a sustainable business. Yeah. And so I love my team, and everyone uniquely just came to us in a different way and found me in a different way, which has been fun.
That's cool. I think what's really shined when talking to other founders as well is every founder that I've talked to has hired people that are smarter than them, or who have been in situations that if they're not capable of doing those things, they're able to kind of go and find people who are and have that knowledge. And that's what I love. And you talking about your team and having that local government knowledge and how they came to you, super impactful. And that you've got this just great bank of knowledge that is part of Civic Reach today that is just helping you tackle all of this incredible mission that you're trying to achieve.
Absolutely. And smarter than me is the starting point, although I don't know how high of a bar that is. But just also ready and willing to roll up sleeves.
Yeah.
I think the two terms we use always at Civic Reach is mission and ambition.
Okay.
We're a for-profit startup. We're venture backed. We have big dreams as a company to not just be helpful, but be helpful at the biggest scale we can be, because of our mission sees a need in terms of social service delivery in this country as almost infinite. And it's solving problems that are actively getting worse right now in terms of communication and ability to deliver social services. So ambition and mission, our team at a starting point is always as smart as can be. And I've loved that, but also is ready on both fronts, is ready and cares about our mission and is with us because they see themselves in that mission. And ambition is ready to work hard to make us a great big company that can execute our mission on a much higher scale than we do now.
I want to hit on, because you just mentioned the better communication between government and the governed. What does that look like in practice, and kind of what's that first step towards actually getting there?
Great question. Grain of salt. I'm building for government, and there's hundreds of government leaders I get to talk to. At this point in the journey of Civic Reach, thousands that have beautiful answers to this question.
Okay.
As the person sitting in front of the mic now, from what I've learned from public servants that work in all these roles across so many important roles in state and in local government, there is so much that our government does for us, especially local government, that we don't see. And we don't feel is working. And there's a lot of reasons why. I think part of it is a communications problem on local government. Often the priority is let's fix the pothole, let's not talk about it. I also think it's a shift. You work in social media in the last few decades and accelerated in the last few years. When we think of government, the average person I talk to, government and politics are just one thing. And then when we talk about politics, people talk about who our president is and what the White House is doing and what happened in the last election. And those things are important. But what happens to me in my day-to-day life, just how the world is shaped around me, is 100 times more impacted by what my city government has done to improve my roads, create summer camps for my kids, create programs that support me, determine the tax rate on my condo. Like all those things affect me daily. And that's the more important relationship. And that's where I have more power to change things is at that local level. And as much as social media makes me upset about what's happening at the federal politics level, that has a way smaller effect on my day-to-day. A much bigger effect on making me angry. So I think that's out of the control of government, but culturally in this country, I think we're moving in the wrong direction. And I want us to change, which is rebuild the relationship with the local institutions. And local government is a huge institution in almost everyone's life. If you live in a rural area, maybe it's your county, not your city, but it's still the number one source that is thinking about how to make your life better. And it's a collection of people who don't get paid as much as they should, whose full-time job it is to make your life better and to negotiate how to make you and your neighbor's life better. And so, one, government should have better tools for communicating, listening, and talking about concerns. And that at Civic Reach aspires to be the best possible tool for that. Two, as a society, I want us to rebuild our relationship with our local institutions, our community centers, our local governments, and other organizations, because I think it's so much more fruitful to debate with your community and try and improve your community and listen to your community and understand how your community and your local government wants to help you. And it's a lot less fury inducing to do it that way.
Oh my gosh, yes. I've said all the time, it's hard for me, I've just found, it's harder just for me to turn on the big channel news, the CNBC, the CNN, all those guys in the morning. Cause it's just like, we go through times where it's just makes you angry. It makes you really angry. But I love that you called out the need for separation in everybody's minds of government and politics, because I think it's, to your point, once again, it's so intertwined when we get around election time and how that whole chessboard gets played during those times.
Absolutely. And I've often said to people in my life, who, friends and family who say, I'm especially upset today what I read of what
Yes.
our president did, or, what someone on the other side of the aisle did. And for me, it's not perfect, but I say my antidote is my day job is talking to folks who work in city government, county government, and state agencies and nonprofits, and people just do the work.
Yeah.
They're not politicians. They're not going to be in the news, but they're doing the work every day to figure out, how do I serve my community better, whether that's hurricane recovery, human services, social services, ameliorating homelessness. And that's what gets to fill my time. And so by the time I see something infuriating that, has happened at the federal level, I get to balance that and say, well, there's tens of thousands of state and local government folks in this country doing their jobs and doing a really good job. And so then the numbers are on the side of just thinking through how to make things better. And that makes me feel better. And it's a good antidote that I hope other people can feel, and take my word for it if you're not doing my job of talking to all these folks, but it's really promising and inspiring.
Good. When we're thinking about right now the state of how AI is and how much every single day it is growing, there are new things being enhanced with it. There's a new platform all the time popping up of how a new LLM. When you look further years down the road, what does an AI empowered community-centered city kind of actually feel like for an everyday resident? Where do we kind of see AI continuing to help Civic Reach continue the spread of everything that it's doing?
Yeah. So a lot of this is what Civic Reach has a vision for, and some of it is beyond us, but just what an opinion we've built on what a great city can look like with AI and with modernization in general. And it's much better being proactive and reactive. So on the proactive front, and cities are already doing this, and we learn this all the time, what data can be used responsibly to figure out what people need? The pothole example is a good one.
Yeah.
There are, we've talked to cities who put cameras on city cars for no other reason than just looking at the ground and finding potholes before anyone complains about them. And then a lot of these cities have a vision of before anyone even hits them. And that's a beautiful use of technology. And it has a really cool net effect of also spending less money, because you can be more efficient of which potholes you fix, and you're not spending as much money fixing potholes. Yeah. So the proactivity can be used in so many areas of government, communicating to you about, changes to taxes, communicating to you about events happening, getting creative on targeting those messages, once again, to not just save taxpayer money, but then to make sure that when I have kids of a certain age, I'm getting the exact resources that my city has for those kids delivered directly to me. We're seeing cities doing that already. Where Civic Reach comes in is helping through our customer service tools to surface much more of that data to allow a city to get more proactive across all the areas that we're helping with. The other area is improve reactivity. It's never just one. You can never be so proactive that you're not reactive, right? Customer service always exists. People will always have problems. And with government, people will always have problems, because it's like the buck stops with our government. And so we see a future where governments still have to be reactive. They still have to deal with problems. Hurricanes will still happen. But how do we make local governments feel empowered, like they can provide the best possible reactive customer service possible? Meaning, you're in a crisis, or you're upset, or you're both, and you just don't know what to do, but your local government, your city or your county, is the resource that you trust to help you figure it out. We have this concept of 911 in this country, and I think we take it for granted that anywhere in this country, and lots of countries have it, but it wasn't a thing. We had to build it 100 years ago to create this network and this expectation that, okay, governments, I don't care who, I don't know if it's a county office, city office, state funded, I don't know, but I called 911 because I have a problem, and there's a set of problems I know they can solve, and I'm calling. And it's just beautiful. And we see a future vision where we create the same instance with fixing potholes. You don't care who owns that street, you just know that you can call, and it gets figured out, and a week later someone says, we fixed your pothole. And then all your neighbors get told too, because they didn't call, but they probably want to know. And if a hurricane happened, you can just call. And if anything else happened, if you need a shelter to sleep in tonight, you can just call. So we want to create the net effect and the cultural expectation of 911 and pull that into the social services space and the general information space. And there's no better venue for hosting that than government. They just need better tools.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to build.
I love that. I love it because people, to your point, 911 has been the main thing that people call it in an emergency situation. But it's also like, I think what's beautiful is that you're giving people the opportunity to feel like they're closer to local government and having just that more access to things that we've had to go search on the internet and search for emails and phone numbers and all these different things that we get to, and we're like, at this point, why does it matter? Like, do we really care that much, or is it really going to help in that sense actually make a difference?
Yeah. And I'll just say up front, it's going to make a difference.
Yeah.
There's too much evidence it will. There's too many people working on these problems. But on the technology side, and speaking to other founders and AI founders and folks who are learning about AI innovation, I think what we often miss is the work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Lots of founders, who've made it big often talk about this, of how when we create technology innovation, it feels almost inevitable. But in reality, so much work went into it. And I think the work that needs to be done right now, and a lot of the work our team does, and what my team's doing late at night right now, is we have these tools like ChatGPT and these magical tools that are making knowledge free and making knowledge immediately accessible. And often we get approached at CivicReach of saying, like, well, you're building similar tools of surfacing knowledge from government and facilitating the conversation between residents of a government and letting them ask questions and get responses. But the knowledge that's needed to power a system like ours doesn't inherently just live on the internet, which means it doesn't inherently just live in ChatGPT. Yeah. And so these hallucination problems, these data quality problems, these are real tough non-technology problems to solve. They're change management problems to solve. They're cultural problems to solve. We talk to governments all the time about, all right, you see this vision of our AI. We're really excited to build it for you. We're going to start talking about unsexy, data and knowledge management. Yeah. And how do we need to improve your organization's knowledge management to even power a system like ours? Yeah. And that's a lot of the work we do. And for any enterprise AI entrepreneur, for people wanting to build startups in this space, that's the problem to be solved. How good is AI going to get? It's going to keep getting better.
It's going to get really good.
ChatGPT will make sure of that, and Anthropic will make sure of that, and we're advised by a lot of those folks, and that's great. And we've built a really good AI that I'm really proud of. Yeah. But that's not the big problem. The big problem is that the organizations we serve and so many others have to change how they work in order to see the benefits of using these systems. And so those of us building AI need to be good stewards of this moment. We need to be really good at data. We need to be really good at walking organizations through change management. We need to be really human, really empathetic. And that's both the biggest challenge of CivicReach becoming successful, as well as what I see as our biggest opportunity.
Yeah. I want to just ask, because I nerd out over this, building your own AI and your own, all of this. What goes into that most people would have no idea goes into building an AI and LLM that, we kind of just utilize every single day now at this point?
Okay. How technical do we want to get?
You can get as technical as you want. I got.
So my background is as a technologist, and in recent years, even before starting this company, building AI tools. And there's a question as a founder running a business, which is, in a time of immense technological change, what are you building versus what is everyone else building that you can use and leverage? And I don't think we can get it right, but you just have to get close. Yeah. And so there's always trade-offs of, where is the technology right now? Where is it going tomorrow? What is ChatGPT and OpenAI going to build tomorrow? Which are those, and how is the AI as an engineering set of tools going to progress? Yep. And what should we build now, and what should we wait for now, or use third parties now? We do both every day. Okay. And so there's the engineering management trade-offs, and myself as a technical leader and talking with our software team of how to make those trade-offs. And then when it's something that you said, okay, no, we don't really think, for us, we need to create voice AI. So you need to push AI, ChatGPT is not fast enough. You need to find ways to make it faster. We need to push that envelope. It also can't be any less accurate because governments can't lie on the phone. We need to push the envelope of where hallucination prevention is right now.
Yeah.
So a lot of how we get there is inventing some of our own tools.
Okay.
But then in other areas of the company, there's active areas where we have really smart engineers, but we're not going to go build that right now. So the trade-offs and the ruthless prioritization of what do we need to own right now? What do we need to borrow? What do we need to use other vendors for? And then how do we amalgamate that all together to create a tool that works well? That's the big day-to-day engineering challenges. 10,000 feet, just as an AI founder, building an AI native company, it's really pushing back on that title, I think, is what's best for us. AI hype is a problem, and it often shields us from what's actually happening under the hood. And AI is at the core of our product, and the value proposition we give to governments and the money that we can charge them for doing something that used to be much more expensive and that was something that technology couldn't have done for them yesterday. That's great that AI has unlocked that. But we can't just be an AI company and go to customers and go to the market we want to serve and execute on this mission by saying AI fixes the problem. We need to do what tech startups have been done well for a while. And my background is technology and product management. And what's a good product manager do? Talk about what problems are we solving?
Yeah.
So the other area of our team is really challenging ourselves to be good at solving our problems, which has nothing to do with AI. What do governments and social services need right now is capacity. So the tools we build for them use AI, but they also use lots of other technology. But can we measure the net effect of giving them back more of their capacity to go do a good job at social services, being good government? Then we've done a good job of being a technology, whether AI is baked into it or not.
Yeah. We've been talking about technology so much, and I'd be remiss if I did not hit on Triangle Tech Night. Because what I've loved about, I'm a Raleigh native, I've been here my entire life. What I've loved is seeing the absolute boom and growth of the Triangle and how there's been so much incredible technology being built, entrepreneurship growth, this massive boom. What is the biggest untapped advantage the Triangle has as a tech ecosystem right now? And what's kind of one thing that is holding it back from becoming like a top tier innovation hub?
There's so much there. I love this ecosystem. So unlike you, I didn't grow up here.
Okay.
Didn't go to college here.
Yeah.
I'm a transplant. And
we value the transplants here. We
grain
value
of salt, right? I love it here. And my wife and I are so happy to be here, and this is our place. And we realized that pretty early on. And being able to build a company here and to engage with the startup and the tech community at large with Triangle Tech Night has just been the cherry on top of not just being in a community I love, but being able to give back and be part of these organizations that are built right here in this community. So a lot of questions about the ecosystem. I want to start with the measurements. You said, what gets us to be a top tier? I think we're moving in that direction.
Okay.
I also challenge how we measure the tiers of ecosystems. One thing I think a lot of folks get wrong, and I admittedly sometimes get wrong and really got wrong when I first moved here, is I came from the New York startup ecosystem. Mm-hmm. And in the years I was there and part of it and a founder in that ecosystem, it was really about measuring our success versus San Francisco. And it was dollar for dollar venture dollar spent.
Okay.
How much venture is going into pre-seed companies, seed companies, Series A, et cetera. And that's a good measurement. But if we measure the tier of the Research Triangle's tech ecosystem and startup ecosystem, we just won't look good and we'll never get there.
Yeah.
We don't have the basis of investors here. We have some great investors here. We have investors who are working really hard and some who've been growing really fast. But that's not where we shine. And founders who are successful who do raise money, and you can be a founder without raising money. You can be a successful entrepreneur, and most don't raise money from venture investors. Of those who do, like CivicReach, we're often raising money from outside the Triangle.
Okay.
And so the measurement of what makes this community great I want it to be a yes and of let's look at venture dollars, but let's start deprioritizing that as the measurement of this community and look at all the things that make us great that already make us a top tier ecosystem. Research dollars spent, biotech outcomes, right? It's us versus Boston, and if you read the Boston Globe, we're winning. And there's this other metric that I don't yet know how to define. I've been talking about it with some friends, which is real life outcomes.
Okay.
There's this thing where our investment's more conservative. So even if you are an investor-backed company in North Carolina broadly, or the Research Triangle, you have to prove a lot more to get that investment.
Okay.
I've lived this real time as a founder, trying to get investment here, and I see friends who have like a piece of paper, and they're raising twice as much money as I can here. But it means that it challenges us to create more sustainable businesses that have something tied more to real life. And it's working. The diversity of startups working on everything from agriculture improvements for farmers to lots of amazing AI companies that can only be built here. So even argue like GovTech startups that can be built in a place that's more in touch with what local government looks like and is less, possible in a city like New York or San Francisco. And so this real life impact metric that I don't yet have a good definition for, I'm going to figure out how to define it, get some smart folks on it. And I think once we measure that, we're going to shine and shine right now. So to your first question I contested the second question of where our strengths are. It's the diversity of startups working on real life problems that have a great chance of improving lives. That just naturally happens. We're not as caught up in, how B2B SaaS is going to get better. And we don't invest all the time in that. And we just have this diversity of startups working on really interesting things, which means we have a diversity of AI use cases that aren't just a slight iteration of what's happening from the last San Francisco startup, but it's something net new. And it means we take real product and idea risks here.
Okay.
Yes, investors don't take big risks here, but startup founders take really big risks here because of it, which I love. And so many people in this ecosystem sit on the sidelines that don't need to. There's so many, and Tenny, like IBMers and Red Hatters and folks who have put their time into the tech ecosystem. I don't think we yet have a culture of, if you spend 20 years at a large tech company in the Triangle, do you feel an obligation to necessarily interact with the tech ecosystem, startups and founders and younger folks? And I want to call more people to come in. That can look like a lot of different things. And in Triangle Tech Night, we get this question all the time. Hey, I'm an executive at IBM. I just wanted to learn what's being built here because I only see my project that I work on every day, and I feel less connected from the innovation. And, we say there's 10 people in this room that could use your mentorship. Yeah. If you wanted to stop your job and go run a company, there's 20 people in this room that need a co-founder. Yeah. And there's startups that need angel investors. And those angel investors, those mentors, those co-founders, they're here. They're already here. They're in this community. They've worked at big tech companies. They've done that job. But the big call is we need to bring a lot more of them in to feel like they're part of an ecosystem, and then take that next step to go be a mentor, an angel investor, a co-conspirator. Yeah.
Now, somebody for the first time is kind of walking into Triangle Tech Night. Can you set the stage for what happens at one of these nights? What happens as soon as they walk through the door? People standing up in front of everybody? Like, what does it look like?
Yeah. The goal is to make it as unintimidating as possible.
Okay.
We're always trying to do a better job of that. Networking events can be hard. Yeah. And I'm a social person. I'm very extroverted. My day job is good for how my brain works, but that's not how everyone thinks. And networking events are, I'd argue, for no matter what your career is, really important. Yeah. But not everyone feels the same way walking into them. There can be a lot of discomfort, especially if you don't yet feel like you're part of a tech ecosystem and you're coming to Triangle Tech Night, which is labeled as a startup and tech ecosystem event. If you don't feel part of the community, this event can be intimidating. So what do we aspire to and what do we work towards is to not feel intimidated, to feel like this event was for you, which it is. If you work in tech and startups, these events are for you. Our job is to be the open door to the ecosystem, and I'm very proud that we've been creating that. Yeah. And so just meet someone right away that you haven't met before that can teach you about their job, and they work in a different part of the startup or tech ecosystem, and you've learned something new. And then the way we do programming and content is to show you innovators here, whether that's startup folks, executives and technologists at big firms, at Fidelity's Tech Campus, at IBM, as well as folks who are enabling both the investors, the accelerators, the nonprofits, the entrepreneurial support organizations. We put them all together in a conversation. Sometimes that's a more boring panel that we make as interesting as possible. Our panels aren't boring. We're trying to change the format as much as possible. Sometimes we do a fishbowl. So we'll put the speakers in the middle of the room and then everyone sits around them and everyone shouts out questions as we go. Me too. And we're always trying to experiment on the format, but the key principles and ingredients are get community leaders that represent a diversity of what it means to be in the tech and startup ecosystem, so that everyone who shows up and everyone who chose to vote with their time, which is a really big deal, comes and feels like there's something they can get and learn from this audience. And more often than not, they can see themselves in whoever's speaking. And whenever we can, set the format up so that if you want to participate, you can. You feel like you're invited to join in as much as possible. And some of our best Triangle Tech Nights with this, albeit moving target type format, we've had 20-30% of the audience participate. We've got to the point where everyone feels comfortable and permission to start interrupting. And then it's no longer about our panelists. It's just about a community discussion of anxiety about AI and healthcare. Yeah. And I learned so much from that particular conversation, AI and healthcare. And more than 50% of the minutes spoken were just audience members giving opinions or interacting with each other. And our panelists became more of the referees to the conversation. That's success for us. So walking in, we want to start from a level of comfort and then end with a feeling of empowerment, education, and like you're ready to go continue your career, start your new startup, or just feel like you're part of the ecosystem, because you already were, but hopefully we make you feel like you are.
I love that. More so. And while we're talking about this, like Triangle Tech, it's been a true gathering point for builders in this region. Has there been kind of one interaction for you or conversation from those nights that's generally changed your perspective or stuck with you more as you've gone through this?
So I have two co-organizers, Kenyatta Hall, JP Maloney. Our success is shared, and so they teach me every day, especially when I sometimes am overly ambitious and haven't thought through all the details. And they're like, well, here's how we can actually make this thing exist, because the way you're talking about it is crazy. So I want to shout them out and I'm so thankful. We talked about teams. Triangle Tech Night's also a team. Yeah. One interaction of many is there's a handful of attendees who have left a Triangle Tech Night and created their own meetup. And that to me there's no better outcome. Yeah. Our first Triangle Tech Night ever, when I just ran it as an experiment, someone got so jazzed and is just like, I love this. Can you talk about on your next Tech Night? Because we talked about AI at the time when it was still a monolith and novel. And this attendee's like, this was a great conversation. I love the feeling you created. I want to do it for quantum computing. And I was like, I know nothing about quantum computing and I don't even know where to start to find the experts. And he's just like, oh, I work at it all the time. I'm in the IBM, office for it. Yeah. And I was like, amazing. Do it. Yeah. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, I don't know how to do it. You do it. And then 2 months later, I get a text being like, RTP's first ever quantum computing meetup. They still meet.
That's awesome.
And it's not something I can even know how to walk into that room of. I can't speak to quantum computing. We're making great strides here in the Triangle. But the fact that we had an event that could inspire someone to feel so a part of their community that they wanted to create an event for the community with their flavor, win. And that's happened a couple more times. Yeah. And a couple more folks have attended our events, and then that's either given them permission or at least push them along the path of creating events of their own for their own community. That's tech adjacent, civic tech. There's a bunch of others. That to me is the best outcome. And I love that it's happened a few times.
I go back to, I still love just the boom of true entrepreneurship that happens. I mean, I just saw, I think it was yesterday, the countdown is on to Startup Week. And it's one of the biggest that people are so excited to be part of every year in entrepreneurship. I'm thrilled of the boom of creativity and foundership and entrepreneurship here right now. I think if this is where we are right now, I'm so excited to see how we continue to grow especially the triangle. Like you said, we're not San Francisco, but we are Raleigh, we are the triangle. We are truly building and building and networking and building community together. And that's the really cool part right now.
It is. It is. And I go to New York Tech Week, and to these big San Francisco, New York,
Yeah.
LA Tech Weeks. This is where we shine in being different.
Yeah.
I've been to a lot of these venture conferences in the major startup cities, and there's a lot there.
Yeah.
But I never see the level of founder support that I do at Raleigh Durham Startup Week, which is felt across the community.
Yeah.
And to that diversity of different ideas, that also is true here. I go to a lot of events at New York Startup Week, and I'm like, I've heard this idea pitched like 10 times in a row, and love New York and my former community.
Yeah.
It's just being able to draw that difference is important. And I want folks here to feel empowered of that we're different in ways that matter.
Yeah.
And to lean into that. And Raleigh Durham Startup Week is the pinnacle of that feeling of it's founders talking about good ideas and founders leveling up.
Yeah.
And I had the privilege last year of volunteering with Raleigh Durham Startup Week and helping put some of the panels together.
Yeah.
And I've never helped with a conference. I've never really seen such a dedication to every panel has to be a 12 out of 10 helpful.
Okay.
And we don't care who's sponsoring. We don't care if Bank of America wants to be on that panel because they think they paid for it. No offense to Bank of America, they actually do a lot for the triangle, but using just examples of that's not the role of Raleigh Durham Startup Week, and as an organization, how they feel and how we felt, and I love it. And it means that every you could go to just one panel or one event or one talk, and you're guaranteed to walk away with a ton of learnings, a ton of celebration, and a ton of feeling bought into what this community stands for. And there's just nothing like it. I love it. It really inspires me into putting on events with Triangle Tech Night throughout the year. And it inspires me to just really want to shout out to more founders or to be founders that are in the Triangle. And if you feel more isolated because you have a full-time job and you can't go to networking events, which is super common, it's happening here. So when you're ready, come out. And if you don't have time across the year, come to Raleigh Durham Startup Week. Call out a day sick from work and make one day of Raleigh Durham Startup Week your thing. Just do one thing and you'll see it. You'll feel it. And I think more folks should do that.
Yeah. I'm very excited. I just love the sheer amount, and when you being connected with people on LinkedIn that are just part of that community, it's so exciting just to see one of the things that people are learning every single time they come out of that startup week, but also just the sheer amount of conversations that are happening of, I have this idea, this is what I learned, all these different things, the connection points there. It's so much fun to see during that week.
Yeah, 100%.
I couldn't even imagine what it feels like to be part of planning some of that.
It's really cool. It's just a cool nonprofit, and the way it's all volunteer, and it's everyone doing a little piece here and there, and it's a true testament to the community itself is how it's organized, for sure.
I love that. I want to hit on just some of your personal, founder journey. Building in the civic space is hard. What's a moment of doubt or friction that actually kind of strengthened your conviction to keep going with CivicReach?
Ooh, there's a million.
Yeah.
I am really hard on myself. It's something I'm actually working on. I was a college athlete, and I only learned years later of how I was so fueled by just what is my competition doing? How can I be better? What am I doing wrong? Yeah. And it was I think it's made me better, but a lot of ways in my journey as an entrepreneur across my career, and then especially acutely with CivicReach, of creating a company at first by myself from scratch, was really tough. And the toughest part was where my self-doubt crept in. And so there's two big examples that I think I live with all the time, and that spanned multiple months. One is my background as a software engineer, technologist, product manager. And in the early days of CivicReach, before we had a team, and it was still an idea, before we even incorporated as a company, and I just wanted it to be a startup, I couldn't build a product. I was procrastinating. I was sitting at home I don't have any work to do tonight. I take care of my clients and my day job and just build. I couldn't do it. It was like a singer who couldn't sing. And I was like, this is what I've been training in. And I was stuck by my own expectations. And the way I got out of it is I hit up the 10 smartest product people I know, like product builders,
Okay.
other founders, other like chief product officers at startups, other software engineers, other PMs. And I said, I need help. Can you pretend to be on my team? And these are like the busiest people I know. So they're like, yeah, we can help you. Like somewhere on the West Coast, somewhere in San Francisco and
Yeah.
New York. And like, we have like shared like an hour a night. So I was like, okay, for 3 nights in a row, we're going to do 1 hour. I'm going to give you my idea and you're going to tell me how to build it. We're going to do like a design sprint the way that
Yeah.
you all know how. It's like, this is from the product manager's playbook. And we did it. And I was so guilty for asking my friends who have like really important startup
Yeah.
day jobs changing the world to give me this time. But one, that was our first product. I then prototyped it, started showing it to cities, and it was a big part of getting Civic Reach to actually start to be something where I could talk about it and show it off to people. And two, everyone who participated reminds me to this day. I met with one of those participants a couple weeks ago, and he's just like, that there's nothing I wanted to do more than just be part of that. And this realization that community wants to help you. And I carried all this guilt by asking for help from my community, but
Yeah.
the realization is that everyone who opted in because they wanted to help,
Yeah.
and they got something from it. And so like my community got me through this really big block.
Love that.
And the other story, and this happens on a daily basis, is my family.
Yeah.
I have a very patient wife. I think we underestimate how much work goes into being the partner of a founder of a company, how much lack of salary I taken in the early days, including now, the sacrifice before I had investors, before I had a paycheck coming in and asking for permission, where our family unit's going to make less money because I'm going to spend less time consulting and more time working on this idea. It, growing up, the stereotype is like the inventor in the garage, having a big idea, and the very patient, partner at home. Modern days, that's a founder.
Yeah.
Founders are crazy. They're executing on an idea, and the early day cost of trying to make an idea happen is most often felt by the family at home. So my wife, my partner in crime, she gets so much credit for what she's done for me, just giving me permission when I felt guilty, or I said like I want this, and this is going to require sacrifice from both of us, and her working through that and figuring out what sacrifice we were willing to do together. And so she gets so much credit for it, and she still gets so much credit for it. That adventure's not over yet, and so I'm really appreciative.
Yeah. It's really funny. The people from the outside looking in on entrepreneurship are like, oh, you get to make your own schedule. I'm like, I laugh every time in the nicest way possible, because you truly, to your point that you were just saying, there are a lot of sacrifices that you have to make and a lot of hours that go into this, that you have to sit there and say, yes, I get to make my own schedule, but I am working 14-hour days, or I am working very, very long hours. I am not able to travel. I'm not able to go and do these things because I am pinching pennies in the very beginning, or whatever that scenario might be for people. You always have to bring people back to that reality of, I don't have healthcare being paid for anymore. All those things that we think about when we have a full-time job that's inside of corporate America, those things become really real, that sit on entrepreneurs' shoulders, and it's something that keeps us up at night.
Absolutely. I think there's two takeaways that I talk about on a daily basis when I talk to other founders who are early. One is, remember, this isn't glamorous.
Yeah.
This is not the easiest way to make money. And we always look at the exits and the outcomes, and we forget to realize that those exits, those outcomes, are the vast minority of startups and of companies that scale in this way. And we also don't look at the journey to get there and the sacrifices that are needed.
Yeah.
And so just being realistic about that matters. And I don't get paid a lot right now, and that's a real net hurtful effect on my family, and we have to work through that. And there's so many sacrifices. And yes, I work a lot more hours than I would at any day job for someone else. And so yes, deglamorize it when people put founders on a pedestal, and it's a trade-off like any other job, and just know those trade-offs. The second area is, there's a lot of sacrifices that I think we can make easier.
Yeah.
CivicReach was really grateful to be in a grant program that is statewide here in North Carolina called NC IDEA. And I am such a champion of this program. And we're in 2 grant cycles with them. So they give
Okay.
you a grant money, depending on your stage of company, and then you go through programming where you meet with the other grant awardees and the other startups, and you learn together.
Okay.
And it was the first time ever I've been in any accelerator or program where I saw different founders at different stages of getting over those own barriers in their own
Yeah.
lives. Because we all need to find that support. We all need to figure out where health insurance comes from. We all need to figure out the
Absolutely.
sacrifices our family's going to make. I had it relatively easy. I have such a supportive partner. We were at a time in our lives where we could pull this off.
Yeah.
Other people have really good ideas and are ready to go and are entrepreneurial, but they have bigger barriers to overcome. What NC Idea did in this program is curate and give money such that people who otherwise wouldn't be able to participate and keep their company going could.
Yeah.
And I saw single parents who were running companies with their children. I saw parents in general with
Yeah.
young children, which will soon be me. I just saw people at all these different chapters in their life and all these different barriers to being founders.
Yeah.
And what good programs and good community support can do is, one, change the definition of what it means to be founder and be much more broad and say that, no, you can be going through these different life chapters and still create a really good company. And two, create pathways and create support, which often means money, to help people expand on these ideas when they have that day job, when they have that family to take care of. And so I love this program. Go NC Idea. But in general, it's let's stop over glamorizing founders. And then two, expand our definition of who a founder is.
Yeah.
And then with that expanded definition, give support.
Yeah.
There's so many good ideas. They just need our support and funding.
Yeah. Chip Kennedy, thank you so much for being here with me today and
you.
having this conversation with me. I so appreciate it. And I'm so excited to continue to hear how Civic Reach is continuing to help local, city, all these incredible units of our government that really are doing incredible work for us every single day.
I appreciate it. Danielle, thank you for having me on. I really, really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah. You guys, I'm going to have all of Chip's information down below, as well as Civic Reach's. Please go stay in tune, go look him up, follow him on socials. And as always, I will see you guys back here next time. Bye, y'all.